There are artists who have transformed hell into the most feared place in humanity's imagination, a realm filled with demons and tormented souls, a destination no one would ever wish to face after death. One of these artists was Hieronymus Bosch, an enigmatic genius of the Middle Ages whose paintings struck terror into all who beheld them. His extraordinary ability to create grotesque and terrifying creatures earned him the title of the Devil Maker. Where did Bosch find the inspiration to create such unsettling monsters? Were they mere fantasies, or is there something darker behind his visions? In this video, we'll uncover the truth. Hieronymus van Aken, known as Hieronymus Bosch, was born around 1450 in the city of 's-Hertogenbosch, also known as Den Bosch in the Netherlands. For decades, the early years of his life remained a mystery, but over time, documents have surfaced that shed light on this remarkable artist's life and origins. The first document confirming Bosch's existence dates to April 5, 1474, when he accompanied his sister Katharina in a leasing case, alongside his brothers Goswinu and Johannes. By this time, Bosch was already of legal age, with this document serving as evidence of his given name, Hieronymus. In 1510, a record from the Brotherhood of Our Lady in 's-Hertogenbosch mentioned a dinner held on March 10th at the home of Hieronymus van Aken. This painter, who signed his works as Hieronymus Bosch, was affectionately nicknamed Joan by his friends, family, and neighbors. Bosch's genealogy can be traced back to the family of Thomas van Aken, a painter from Aachen, Germany, who emigrated to the Netherlands in 1404. Thomas settled in Nijmegen in 1427, where he established his own painting workshop and employed his son Jan van Aken, who was Bosch's grandfather. Later, Jan moved to 's-Hertogenbosch, bringing his father's teachings with him and opening his own workshop, where at least one of his sons and 4 of his grandsons worked. Bosch, therefore, belonged to a lineage deeply rooted in the arts, spanning 4 generations, a tradition unparalleled in the history of European art. After the death of Antonius van Aken, Bosch's father, in 1478, the family studio and house passed to the eldest Van Aken brother, Goswinu, who died in 1516. By 1475, records show that the Van Aken brothers were already well known in the guilds of painters and varnishers. This is evidenced by the commission for Adrian van Wezel's altarpiece, completed in 1501 with 2 panels directly ordered from Hieronymus Bosch for a modest sum. Around 1480, at about 30 years of age, Bosch married Aleid van der Merwen, reportedly older than him and the daughter of a wealthy merchant family. This union brought a substantial dowry, including money, properties, and connections that helped Bosch expand his potential clientele. The marriage allowed him to finance his career as a painter, enabling him to distance himself from the family workshop and establish his own. He acquired a house so grand it became a common feature in depictions of 's-Hertogenbosch, spanning over 600 square meters and including the family residence, his workshop, and servant quarters. In 1484, Aleid inherited an estate dedicated to forestry, providing Bosch with financial independence to focus entirely on his art. This positioned him within the elite of 's-Hertogenbosch, a group that owned half the city's properties and contributed over 50% of its taxes. Bosch's artistic production also enriched the family's wealth. For instance, in September 1504, he received 360 florins for a triptych depicting the Last Judgment, commissioned by Philip the Handsome, Duke of Burgundy and future King of Castile. This sum was more than sufficient to support a middle-class family at the time. Bosch's growing fame attracted numerous patrons, including Isabella I of Castile, Domenico Grimani, and Margaret of Austria, who owned a copy of the famous Temptation of St. Anthony, purchased during Bosch's lifetime. In 1487, he joined the Brotherhood of Our Lady, an exclusive group with stratified membership levels. Bosch became part of the elite reserved for theological scholars, suggesting he was familiar with literature associated with the Devotio Moderna movement and works by authors such as Dionysius the Carthusian. He may even have met Erasmus of Rotterdam during the latter's stay in S-Hertogenbosch between 1484 and 1487. Erasmus, known for his passion for painting, had special permission to paint within the convent. By 1498, Bosch signed his works as a painter rather than a master, indicating his departure from the Painters' Guild. This was likely due to his wealth and fame, which freed him from guild obligations such as mandatory teaching and economic responsibilities. Instead, his membership in the Brotherhood required him to participate in religious activities, ranging from occasional Bible readings to serving as an exorcist, duties typically assigned to the lower clergy. As the only painter in the Brotherhood's inner circle, Bosch's interactions with magistrates, theologians, doctors, and lawyers provided him with first-hand knowledge of the subjects he depicted in his work. This network of religious and secular elites transformed his clientele and brought him powerful admirers. While there are no records of the cause of Bosch's death, it is likely he succumbed to the pleurisy epidemic of 1516. He was buried with the title of Distinguished Painter, and his funeral was a memorable day for his Hertogenbosch. In his honor, a small sum of money was given to every beggar in the city. Moving on to his work, and now that we've learned a bit about this artist, it's worth mentioning that for years, Bosch has been associated with alchemical knowledge and membership in certain pagan cults. However, this idea has been rejected by historians. Thanks to psychological studies surrounding his paintings, it has been revealed that many of these works had direct connections to the texts of his time, as well as to various doctrines that began developing as early as the 13th century. One of these was the concept of purgatory as a physical place. Another source of inspiration for Bosch was the religious practices of the late Middle Ages, which were still prevalent during his lifetime. These practices often translated into semi-pagan festivities that were more or less tolerated by the church. In contrast, we see Oriental motifs inspired by Turkish references, as the Turks controlled nearly all the holy sites of Christianity at that time. This served as a third visual resource, a symbolic or iconic representation of Christ's enemies. These signs were equally detested by most Christians and were easily recognizable in Bosch's paintings. Examples include the archetypal exaggeration of Turkish features in grotesque caricatures or the use of the crescent moon as a metaphor for evil. At the same time, Bosch's knowledge of religion, acquired both in his youth and later as a member of the Brotherhood, enabled him to skillfully manage the iconic and symbolic elements associated with religious texts. This mastery allowed him to encode different messages in his work. These messages ranged from simple associations meant for the general public to complex narratives structured specifically for scholars well versed in sacred texts. Before we continue, I'd like to remind you that if you'd like to have a painting by this artist in your collection, you can now do so through our website. There, you'll find a catalogue with many of his works and those of other artists, so you can have a true masterpiece in your home. Shipping is free worldwide. I'll leave the link in the description. Bosch's artistic approach aligns with the set of rhetorical rules stemming from a free interpretation of Horace's Ars Poetica. In it, Horace encouraged writers to be more graphic in their descriptions to help readers form a clearer mental image of the narrative. Interestingly, this principle evolved oppositely for painters. They were urged to create richer compositions that could inspire discourse among viewers. This idea became a formal rule described by Alberti, who stated that all images had a duty to serve as a form of aesthetic education for the greater good. This perspective was also shared by Pope Gregory I, who praised painting as a form of communication under the motto, "Let the unlettered read on the walls what they cannot read in books." It's no surprise that, under this framework, Bosch's imagery adhered to certain conventions that pushed rhetorical rules to their limits. Yet, these never conflicted with morality, thanks to what was known at the time as a proper choice, the appropriate selection of depicted forms. The religious motifs present in Bosch's early works gradually shifted towards civic themes as audiences began to appreciate his paintings for their purely artistic value. while the complexity of his iconographic framework remained intact in works like The Ship of Fools, The Haywain, and allegories of gluttony and lust. He also produced popular themed works such as The Cure of Folly and The Conjurer, which we've previously discussed on this channel. These images served as comedic warnings to the public about the dangers of con men and tricksters. These pieces catered to an audience that valued them not as allegories, but as original artworks from Bosch's workshop. This demand led to the creation of inferior quality forgeries during Bosch's lifetime, contributing to the confusion and misinterpretation of his original works. The depictions of hell created by Bosch form the foundation of our modern concept of the post-apocalyptic world, and of course, hell as a physical place. It's nearly impossible to discuss this theme without referencing Bosch, as his work has profoundly influenced photography, painting, cinema, and literature. Bosch's imagery has inspired countless creative artists seeking to explore the mystical and the unknown. Alongside Dante's vision of hell, Bosch has defined the Western perception of the underworld, but he has also shaped everything we associate with the magical and the occult, offering imagery so extraordinary it fuels mythology and imagination. This is why Hieronymus van Aken endures not just as a painter, but as a legend, a builder of darkness, a key to the realms of life and death, night and day. He is like a ferryman, guiding souls through purgatory and hell, with his brush as the only vessel to reach these destinations. Bosch's paintings could be seen as Charon's raft, allowing us to glimpse the infernos imagined by great masters of art, such as Gustave Doré. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this artist. Let me know if you were already familiar with his work, and if you think I missed anything important in this video. Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to learn about art every week, and leave a like if you found this video interesting. See you soon, and remember, you can buy your favorite painting at inspiragio.com.